Bruce Willis is one red-hot property these days. As smart-mouthed David Addison, he stars in the much-heralded TV series Moonlighting. He's done a special for HBO and has a second in the works. He has a record album out that's just gone gold, and his first feature film, Blind Date, opens tomorrow. Yet for all his success in front of the camera, Willis has a less than terrific off-screen image. I caught up with Bruce in Los Angeles and simply asked him why.
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. Given the fact that in the past 2.5 years since I've been doing this show, I've only done 3 major interviews. That's side A. Side B is, for the past 9 months, I've been in magazines and newspapers just about every day, or at least, once a week. And there have been things that have been total fabrications printed as fact about me. I'm not saying that I'm an angel. I like to have fun, but by and large, I think that how people see me in this country is pretty much based on what they read in the papers. That I ran through town nude, that I used to show up at parties with diapers on, which is all real good copy, but a lot of it's just been made up. It's part of the business.
You don't do many of these, do you?
Many interviews?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
How come?
Just going to get right in there, aren't you? Just going to go right with it.
I'm just curious.
It basically came out of a feeling that I had when I first started doing Moonlighting. Why, just because I'm on television every Tuesday night, does all of a sudden what I say or what my opinions are about, different things carry more weight? I don't really have a whole lot to say publicly.
Yeah, but you do understand why people are interested.
Absolutely. I think what TV does and the kind of position that it puts actors in, popular actors in, it kind of sets you apart from the rest of the people, and that's kind of weird too. For however this happened, when they put my picture on the cover of a magazine, it sells more of that magazine than it would if my photo did not appear there.
Is it a measure of success?
Not for me, it's not. I don't know. That's a real good question. It certainly isn't for me. I try and avoid that stuff. I never really got into this business seeking fame and fortune. I never knew what that meant other than that kind of nebulous fame and fortune, whatever that was. And now here it is. Now I'm right in the center of it. And if anything, it makes me want to keep my private life more private.
Is making it, as you call it, fame and fortune, is it what you thought it would be?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, who knows what that is? I never really knew how this was going to happen, and I was very surprised when it happened through TV. I was living in New York, doing off-Broadway plays. At the time, I thought, well, I'll keep doing off-Broadway plays till I do a Broadway play, and then I'll do a movie, and then I'll do millions of movies for the rest of my life. But never beyond that. I mean, never really thought specifically how this was going to happen.
But you always thought it would happen, didn't you?
I always knew that it was going to happen.
Why? Where does that confidence come from? I mean, you're a blue-collar guy from a blue-collar neighborhood without a family with background in the business. I mean, where does that confidence come from?
I've always kind of had the courage of my own convictions, and I knew this was what I wanted to do. And I think if you want something bad enough and you have, you have the inherent talent to make that work, I think that kind of creates confidence.
Is Moonlighting still for you the focus? I mean, is it still the central thing
Yes.
of which everything has to flow from?
Yes. And that I think is basically a function of my, I have kind of 2 contracts on this show. One is a contract on paper, and one is a commitment to Glenn and Sybil, just from my heart. Just that all 3 of us are kind of in this together. We were there from the very beginning when no one really knew who we were or what we were trying to do. And I think we all still really strive. I think there's still something to say on this show. At some point, we may reach a time where we come in one day and we've said it all, and we've done all the gags, and I've made this face as many times as I can. And we may walk away from it at that point. But we still have, there's still curve to the characters of where they can go.
Well, I'm not giving that baby to a woman suspected of murder.
Suspected, Maddie, suspected. Doesn't that word mean anything
My
to
mind
you?
is made
Don't
up.
you think you at least owe her the courtesy
I
of
don't
listening
owe
to
her
her stories?
anything.
What are you doing?
I'm doing what I should have done all along. What I wanted to do originally. What I should have done last night. Stop that, David! I'm calling the police, David!
Hello, police? Nay, you'll always be Kate to me. Plain Kate, and Bonnie Kate, and sometimes Kate the Cursed. But Kate, the prettiest Kate, my super dainty Kate. Kate, Kate, Bobé, banana, fana, Bobé, Biba, Momate, Kate.
Would Bruce Willis like David Addison?
Yeah, I'd like to hang around with him, actually. It'd be kind of hard keeping up with him. I don't really think that David Addison burns the blue flame. He lives real hard. It would be difficult for me, I think, to keep up with him. But yeah, it'd be kind of like hanging around with the Three Stooges. I'd like to spend the weekend with them. When you like to do that, just hang around with them for the weekend, just like Friday night, just start hanging around with them all.
You mentioned Glenn Caron. Does he really wear a referee's shirt?
I guess you're addressing the stuff about Sybil and I fighting at the end. Well, I'd like to tell you that there's something behind it, that we do actually kick and scream and scratch at each other, but we don't. It certainly sells more magazines to say that Sybil and I are fighting than it is to say Sybil and Bruce are getting along. It's just a little more juicy, I guess.
As it pertains to Moonlighting, does entertaining mean at some point stopping the tease of Dave and Maddie? I mean, do they get together at some point?
Well, that's going to be resolved this year. Actually, that'll be resolved by the end of this season. We like to think of it as 2.5 years of foreplay.
This Friday's a big day for Bruce Willis. Although his role as David Addison in the TV series Moonlighting has made him a real star, his first major motion picture opens today nationwide. The movie's called Blind Date, and the role is really a bit of a departure for him.
I had originally wanted to do something that was totally opposite of the character that I play on Moonlighting. Blake Edwards brought me the script of Blind Date, and I saw in there that as opposed to what I do on Moonlighting, where I'm kind of the driving force behind that manic chaos that goes on in that office, Walter Davis is more of a reactor. He reacts to what is being done to him in his life. So it's a different kind of comedy, and it was a different set of muscles.
Walter, if you'll just drop me off at the nearest hotel.
What? And bring an end to this glorious evening?
Look, I told you I was sorry.
Come on, it's barely midnight. Don't you want to boogie down? Dance all night, tear up the town?
No, I just want to lie down in a nice, cool place.
Oh, wait! I just remembered! There's a party! I distinctly remember somebody...
The first couple weeks that I worked on the film, it was very difficult for me not to want to quip, not to want to come up with the funny tag of the thing, and it wasn't really that kind of character. This is a guy who's a pretty easygoing guy who, because of accepting a blind date, has his life ruined in one night.
Did you find Blake Edwards, or did he find you?
We kind of found each other. I've been aware of his work for a long time.
The reason I ask that is because I know you're a big Three Stooges fan. I'm saying this in all seriousness. I mean, I know you're a big Three Stooges fan, and the kind of madcap antics of this film would seem tailor-made for that kind of a person.
There's a school of comedy that I've studied for a long time. Directors like Frank Capra, Preston Sturges, Ernst Lubitsch. These guys kind of created that screwball comedy genre, and Blake Edwards, I think, is like one of the last masters of that comedy style. He allows you to improvise on the set. He allows everyone to bring their own ideas in. It's a very creative work process.
That's kind of dangerous when you work with Laura Kett, isn't it?
Well, it was dangerous for me. John is one of the funniest people on the planet, and I had a hard time keeping a straight face working with him. But we had a great time doing it. It was a very creative process.
Is comedy where you want to stay in film?
Not necessarily. I enjoy doing comedy. I think it's one of the cooler jobs on the planet to make people laugh. I think that's a pretty good job. I certainly am not limited to comedy. Just before I got Moonlighting, I was doing a play back in New York called Fool for Love. It was a very serious play, very violent and very dramatic. And while I was doing that play, I was kind of thought of as a very violent, dramatic actor.
You can't, I mean, I would think it impossible for somebody to stay as hot as you are, which is not to say you have to slide down in the land of forgotten. But, I mean, how long can this go?
Well, hopefully for the rest of my life, or hopefully as long as I would like to. I don't know. I'm as amazed by all this as you are. There are very few things. As you're growing up, there are certain things that when they happen for the first time are very phenomenal in your life. The first time you join the Little League team, the first time you drive a car, the first time you kiss a girl, the first time you make love to someone. All these things are very phenomenal in that first time that you do it. From the time you're about 21 on, I guess, I think phenomenal things start to drop off. The past 2 years of my life have really been that, and have been a phenomenon in that it's something that I never expected and never really knew how to deal with. I don't know how much longer this can go on. Hopefully for a long time.
I mean, publicity mill being what it is, I mean, are you at all conscious of the possibility even that tomorrow you're yesterday's news, that overexposure takes a toll?
Well, a friend of mine, Michael J. Fox, told me that one of the things about being hot is that at some point you're going to be what's not hot. How I like to look at it is that I'm an actor in a job that has a finite life. When that job is done, I will be an unemployed actor, albeit much more successful and
comfortable.
much more comfortable. But I will still be an unemployed actor, and I will need another job at some point.
I want to let you get away without talking about Bruno Rattolini. Who is he?
Bruno takes himself very seriously. I kind of look at him as just another performance, just another page in the book of the entertainment that I do. He's a character that I play. It certainly allows me not to take myself so seriously.
If we were to cast the Three Stooges in a remake, and you were to play one of the three, which would you play and who'd play the other two?
First of all, let me preface this by saying, giving you my kind of worldview of the Three Stooges here. If you look at the Three Stooges based on a kind of a socio-economic standpoint, they started working right at the height of the Depression. Their job at that time was to take people's minds off their troubles. No one's ever topped what they did. I would like to play Larry. I think Larry he's got some really subtle stuff in there. Also because I would never want to attempt the role of Curly. It's one of those roles like Brando in Streetcar Named Desire.
Who could play Curly? John Candy?
John Candy would make a great Curly. I think he'd make a really good Curly. I don't know about Mo. You got any suggestions for Mo?
For the record, we settled on Bruce for Larry, John Candy for Curly, and for the role of Mo, Danny DeVito. We'll take a station break.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning on NBC or take Today when you're on the go. Just follow the Today podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.